Hey, what's up? I'm Basil Barrington. I want to talk about Native Instruments because there is some chatter. There is some chatter that's happening when it comes to Native Instruments. Now, I thought that this was a Native Instruments Traktor issue, but apparently it's across the board. It's like, the issue on the music production side too. So what have I been hearing? So basically, if you go to some of these music production YouTube channels like Bolo, the producer, Accurate Beats, AV McGee or McCree or whatever his name is, Sarah, the lo-fi person. I even saw this this US prosecutor. He was talking smack too. But anyway, they all had something to say about Native Instruments. One thing that's really consistent with them is that, hey, you know what? In terms of the plugins, on the music production side, the plugins are pretty good. But when it comes to Native Instruments and also just some of their hardware and some of their software, we're not talking about all those sort of plugin companies they purchased and everything else. They're not really under it seems like they're not under the development, sort of department of Native Instruments. They do their own thing separately, sort of like Isotope, right? But they've all been saying that, you know what? These updates are so far and few in between. And it's just like, oh, really? They were talking about like the machine, how, they came out with this machine and, but it's not touchscreen and everyone's doing touchscreen, right? And then they came out with this 88 key, this weighted keyboard, this MIDI keyboard. And I had a Native Instruments keyboard. Those things are beautiful. They're built like a tank, well made, well designed, the whole nine. But this new sort of 88 keyboard they came out with, not recently either. This is like maybe 2-3 years ago. And it just, people haven't been able to get it to work. How can you say I'm a MIDI keyboard, but it doesn't work in MIDI mode? I don't know, right? So I'm thinking like, wow, they're having the same issues as Traktor is having, in terms of Native Instruments Traktor, in terms of the DJ side. So let me give you this sort of lowdown on the DJ side. But first, let me give you a quick history. So, I was DJing vinyl, right? And really didn't transition over to CDs either. I was just using vinyl. Even though I was out DJing, I was still carrying my vinyl records. And then I went over to a friend's house. He had like the CDJ 700s or the 800s, one of the first ones, right? Tried it. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then I decided to pick up the Denon. I think it was the SC 3900 or 3800. It was, almost like a CD player, a CDJ player, you can put the CD in, everything else. And I started, mixing in the digital world. But then I was like, let me take it a step further. And so I was looking at some of this software and, Scratch was out first, I think, right? But the first sort of DJ software I started using was Traktor, right? And it was Wild Wild West, because everyone was like, hey, here's a MIDI map, $50. Here's a MIDI map, $75. MIDI maps, a lot of them just don't work. So I was using it and everything was cool, right? And then I sort of started a relationship with Native Instruments. They sending me gear and everything. I keep looking over here because I actually have the machine studio over here that hasn't been connected in like maybe 5 or 6 years. And so I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. So I was using the software and then I was like, well, something's going on here with this software because it just stopped working properly. It was still working, but it just wasn't working properly, right? So I was like, I don't know what's going on here, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna still use it. And then the next thing, I just stopped using it. And I just stayed with like DJing with CDJs, just CDs, like with my Denon SE 3900s, I think, or 3800s. And then maybe 5 or 6 years later, I started using Serato, then Rekordbox, and I started using all these other DJ softwares. But I came back to Native Instruments Traktor, right? And the reason why I came back is this here, right? I was trying to put together a modular DJ setup, and I kept looking at the S8. And again, the S8 is a 10, 12, 14-year-old device, right? And I was like, I want this here. I want to try this S8 with Traktor just to see how this DJing with no jog wheels thing is, right? But before I even go to the S8, so I was using Traktor Pro 3, version 3. This version was around for like 5 or 6 years before they even updated to the next version, version 4. So they were giving us sort of like updates on a regular basis, but the software was still sort of lagging when it came to other software companies that are like, creating DJ software and making it better all the time, right? I mean, take for instance, like DJ Pro. I mean, they have an update like as much as Apple updates their OS, they have to also update their software as well, DJ Pro, so yeah, and it was kind of weird because if you really think about it, Native Instruments Traktor, when they came out with stems, right? Now, listen to this here. This is just my take on it. Native Instruments Traktor, they were like, hey, we have stems. And when they released stems, they also released the D2, the S5, and S8. These are DJ controllers with no jog wheels. So you're basically, everything is synced up. You're just like, hitting it off like that. And I was like, ooh, these, again, stems and these 3 controllers they made to control stems, the D2, the S5, and the S8. This was groundbreaking. Totally groundbreaking. Stems were groundbreaking, right? And I think Native Instruments Traktor was the first DJ company to come out with stems. They kind of created stems in the DJ space, right? But it wasn't like we know stems today. So what they did was, this is like really dumb, right? So what they did was they said, yes, we're going to create stems. We're also going to create hardware so you can control stems, but the only way you can obtain stems is to purchase stems. So back then the software, these developers didn't have the knowledge yet to create a software program that could actually separate stems from an actual track, right? So when they first came out with stems, you had to buy stems, right? So they basically had these relationships with labels, and they were like, hey, every time you make a track, every time you produce a track, you release a track, also release the stems and, put them up. I think Beatport was selling stems, and so was Track Source. And it was like, hey, you can buy stems. So you can buy a bass line, a stem. You can buy drums, a stem. You can buy instruments, a stem. You can buy vocals, a stem. Think about that, right? The actual introduction to stems, way beyond its time. The actual software, the hardware that they created so you can control stems, way ahead of its time. Fast forward to today. So I sold my S8 like earlier this year, but I had it for about like 5 months. And I bought it, connected it to Traktor Pro 4. It just worked. That's one thing you got to give it to. You got to give Traktor, Native Instruments, their stuff just works. And if it's like stuff in their own ecosystem, hardware, proprietary to its own proprietary software, it's going to work. So I plugged up the S8, boom, a 10, 15-year-old device. It just worked flawlessly. I also have the S4 too, the MK3 S4, right? The S4 MK3. I like it, but if you look at those devices, if you look at the devices that Traktor has released, they have the S4. I think they have is it the Z1 or the Z1? I think is the mixer, and the X1, and they have those. Both of those have like the RGB stuff at the bottom. Don't know what's going on with the Z1. I'm getting these like names wrong. The F1, the Z1, and the X1, right? They released everything except the controller that controls the actual stems, right? And you don't really see it on their website anymore either. So I'm just like, okay, is something new coming out, right? So those are the only 2 devices that they released in the last sort of like year, right? And we can't really take into account like the S4, the S3 or the S2. These are very entry level, sort of like DJ controllers. But Native Instruments Traktor hasn't really been innovative. You know, I was watching, I can't remember her last name, but Sarah is the young lady who does like lo-fi music, right? She's a producer. She alluded to the fact that she thinks that Apple will buy Native Instruments. No, they won't. No, they won't. And the reason why they won't is because if you really think about it, a lot of the stuff that, when it comes to software and things like that, a lot of the stuff that Apple buys, it's generally native to Apple first, right? I think if they are going to make an acquisition when it comes to music, it will probably be Algorithm's DJ Pro. It's just too much going on when it comes to Native Instruments and trying to purchase that, acquire that company, and then integrate it with Logic. Like, which plugins are you going to integrate with Logic? Are you going to just sell these plugins separately? So I don't think that's going to happen. Now, will Apple actually buy Native Instruments Traktor? Because I think that if you really just think about it, does Native Instruments even want to continue supporting Native Instruments Traktor? And I'm going to say, I don't think so. Because if they did, like, look at all the other companies. Look at like DJ Pro. Look at like Serato's coming out with 4. Look at like Rekordbox. Look at like Virtual DJ. And look at all these companies building hardware for these like, kind of sexy softwares. Native Instruments isn't doing that. And they make it very difficult for you to take that device and MIDI map it to another software. Example, had the S8, really liked it. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to try and map it to DJ Pro. Some things you can map. You can map like the headphone cues. You can map VU meters. Like, how am I supposed to know, where my levels are? You know what I'm saying? So you see, it's kind of goofy there, right? And then the S4, MK3, you can't map that to anything. That's just like straight up proprietary, is locked, right? So I'm just like, what is going on with Native Instruments Traktor? What are you giving us as DJs? Right now, again, DJ Pro, Serato, Virtual DJ, they have an update all the time, right? So, Native Instruments Traktor, it's a little disappointing because, Traktor Pro 5, I'm going to say in another 4 or 5 years, we may get that. Will there be new DJ controllers, new hardware for Native Instruments Traktor? I don't think so. I think they need to really start ticking up the R&D and like producing more products. You're like becoming like Hollywood now. It's just like, when's the next season coming out? Like the second season just ended. Third season, you'll see that in 2.5 years. With Traktor, next version, 5 to 6 years. I mean, come on. Are we as DJs going to continue to support Traktor when Traktor isn't really supporting us as DJs? I get all of the Traktor emails, and every time I get them, I'm really excited because I think it's going to be another like, I should say I get all of the Native Instruments emails. And I get excited when I see those because I'm thinking that it will be a new piece of hardware or something kind of sexy with the software. Nothing. So it's always something that has to do with their software. I think this here, and it kind of like, the writing is on the wall when it comes to Native Instruments. You're a software company. You're not a hardware company. Stop making hardware. You came out, you killed Akai. Like when you came out with the machine, you killed it. Akai was just like sleep at the wheel, but now they stepped up. So now everyone knows what an MPC is, the legendary MPC. You think the machine can compete with the MPC? I don't know, but people like your software. So why make hardware when you can just make software and it's a lot easier? It's just like people, just sitting down. You have UI, designers, UX designers, coders, developers. These are all people that are doing things at a desk on software, coding things up, right? Should you be in a hardware game? I can't really call that. I think at this point, You probably should get rid of hardware and just concentrate on software when it comes to Native Instruments Traktor. I think you should either just sell Traktor, you know, or just let it go. Like, just shut it down, because you're not doing anything. And you're not really competing with other companies too. So I think that Traktor should do one or two things. One, start producing hardware. All these other companies are flying by you, you know. Look at the Rain 1 Mark II. Come on. It works out the box with Rekordbox. I'm sorry, it works out the box with Serato, DJ Pro, and Virtual DJ. I think the whole proprietary software thing, you know, at some point that's gonna like just be broken up. That monopoly or whatever it is, that cartel is gonna be broken up. It's just like, no, let's make devices that, you know, that'll work across the board, right? Traktor, Native Instruments Traktor. Sell Traktor or start producing more products, because the DJ industry has kind of left you behind. And, you know, I just don't know if there's really a place for you in this space if you're not going to, you know, innovate, if you're not going to be disruptive, you know, with new devices, new hardware, and new software. Haven't seen that in the Traktor space. So that's one of the reasons why I got rid of the S8, the S4, and I think the only thing I have left is the X1. I really couldn't do anything with the S4. It's just like, you got these small jog wheels. It's just, what am I gonna do with that, right? The S8 was cool, but then after a while, I was like, I kind of missed the jog wheels. I miss touching stuff, right? You know what? Native Instruments Traktor, you know, you can come out with a brand new, because stems is it now. Stems is it. And here's the other thing before I go. Stems is the bee's knees today. Today, stems is it. Traktor. Why not reintroduce the S8, the S5, and the D2? I don't get this, right? It's just like, yo, and make it like MIDI mappable. Make it so that it can be used across the board on different softwares. You know, don't just, you know, re-release the S5, the S8, and the D2, but it only works with your software that you're not updating on a regular basis, right? Re-release those devices, because right now stems are pretty hot. And we really can't use stems in a proper way on Traktor, not unless you have, you know, I guess, you know, just the S4 really, you know, and maybe like all those modular devices. So you can put a modular DJ set together with Native Instruments Traktor hardware, and, you know, have a pretty tight, you know, modular DJ software setup as well, hardware and software setup. So Native Instruments, two things. One, either release more hardware and more software updates, or just sell Traktor. Sell it to someone. Sell it to Serato. Sell it to Algorithms DJ Pro. I mean, I don't think, you know, Virtual DJ doesn't want it. I think like with Algorithm and also Serato, they really don't want the software component of it. Maybe the tech behind the software, they really want the hardware component of it, right? So Native Instruments Traktor, you got to get on it, because all these other companies are just passing you by, and you're just stuck trying to figure out, oh, we came out with the S8, the S5, and the D2 when stems were not really known, and now that stems are hot, we haven't even decided to re-release those like very important devices. I don't know about that. Anyway, Native Instruments, get it together. Well, there you have it. Until next time, peace.